This is Capital One Tournament Central.
All right, so Cincinnati advances to the American Final, beating Memphis 70-60. Welcome, everyone, to Capital One Tournament Central. Adam Zucker with Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis. And, wow, second half, very different from the first.
Extremely so. And Cincinnati showed you what they're capable of. I mean, this is a team that could get to the Final Four. And they stepped it up big time defensively, came out of that halftime break and put the throttle down. Defense was exquisite. Offensive execution, HE efficiency. And you see turnovers, not many in that first half by Memphis, but Cincinnati was typically at its best here in the second half. There's Kyle Washington, there's Gary Clark going to work inside, and they shot a blistering 77% in the second half from the floor, did the Bearcats.
And Memphis a little less.
A little bit less, and on that other end of the floor, Cincinnati was just as good, which, of course, that is where they buttered their bread in this program. Their entire culture, their entire DNA is predicated on defense. It's funny how it works when the shots don't go in and things don't go as well for you. That's Jamal Johnson. Did not miss a shot in the first half, did not make a shot in the second half. Very little room at the rim when you go up against the Bearcats, as you see another miss, and Mr. Jacob Evans is not having it. And how about Cincinnati, by the way? 18 assists today to 3 turnovers and on 24 made field goals. So those of us, and especially me, questioning their offensive ability, they're answering a lot of it.
I have to address your raised eyebrows. That was 77% from the foul line. That's Cincinnati.
Which is also good.
They look good.
Which is also good.
They outscored them 41-18 in the second half. Something had to go well, and now they'll face the winner between Wichita State and Houston. And time now for the Capital One Venture Card double-double of the day. And you saw Gary Clark racking up his second straight double-double and 11th of the season in this one. 17 points and 12 rebounds in this performance. And he has been the man leading the way in the American in double-doubles. And he just keeps doing it. All right, what is going on in that committee room a few blocks away from here? We're going to get an update from the man who knows best. Dan Gavitt joins us when we come back.
Even today, I get chills driving up Magnolia Lane. The Masters on CBS.
Welcome to March, where anything goes.
And we are back on Capital One Tournament Central with the committee members hard at work. We are pleased to welcome Dan Gavitt, NCAA Senior Vice President for Men's Basketball Championships, here with us. And you guys are being more open about the process this year than ever before. Last year was a great start. We just watched Cincinnati get a nice win. At last check, were they sitting on the 2-seed line?
They're in very good position. Nice try. And, we're watching them closely. They could improve their position, but they certainly have had a great season.
Cool. When you talk about the progress that the committee has made to this point compared to years past, is it comparable or is it a little further along? Can you give us a sense of where the process is right now in terms of teams being selected?
Sure. Very, very comparable to past years. 35 at-larges have been selected so far. Have as many as 3 up to 8 more to select based on what may happen in conference championship games tonight or tomorrow. Spending a little more time, I would say, on some teams being very, very deliberate and thorough, because there are, a few teams in particular that are on the bubble that have very unique situations.
I would assume Notre Dame might perhaps be one of those kinds of teams. When you think about Bonzie Colson's return, would that fall into the category of unique situation?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's obviously been a lot of talk about this new quadrant system and how it affects things. And my question to you is, if we didn't have the quadrant system, do you think it would have yielded a different result in terms of teams getting in or out, or where they're seated, if we had stayed with the old system of just breaking things up by top 50 of the RPI, just doing it straight away there?
Yeah, no, great question. I don't think the results will be any different, Seth. I think what the quad system has done for the committee this year is to redefine what a quality win is, what a quality game is. Probably brought more games into consideration that are played on the road, And also, it's probably diminished the impact of a road loss. You know, what in the past would have been considered a very bad loss. If it's a road game and a conference game, for example, against a lower half team from a good conference, that loss doesn't stick out nearly as much as it did in the past. But it brings more teams in that, you know, 50 to 75 range on the road into consideration as a real quality game and potentially a real quality win.
35 at-larges pretty much selected, although it could be flexible based on what happens in conference tournaments. We know the selection, the bracketing process doesn't take as long as we thought it did. What about the seeding now? Is that where the bulk of the work is taking place now as the committee goes through their steps?
Yeah, very much so. And the rest of today and tonight into late tonight, they'll spend an awful lot of time on seeding. They've seeded through 8 lines so far. We'll get to at least 10 tonight. Can't go much longer than that because there are so many conference championship games that are played late tonight that could impact that 4th quadrant, the lower seeded teams. So they'll finish off the seeding tomorrow. The goal being to have as much time as possible to bracket, come up with different brackets. You know, the American Conference Championship game is at 3 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, I think. So we may have to have a couple different brackets, a couple different scenarios depending on the outcome of that game.
All right, looking forward to it. I know you got a couple late nights in you and one more to go, Dan. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Great to be with you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, Dan Gavitt. All right, coming up, we're going to look ahead to Game 2 of our doubleheader. Houston and Wichita State getting set to square off in the second American semifinal. But first, time for another edition of Infinity's Hardwood Heroes.
We need to finish to win a championship, and we haven't done that yet this year, so our guys did what they needed to do.
Final score, Wichita State 89, Temple 81. They advance to the AAC tournament semifinals.
Just a lot of respect for their shooters, the way they can drive it and create, as well as shoot it from deep.
I applaud our guys for their focus. And at this time of year, you got to win to advance.
The Cougars win, advance to the American Conference semifinals.
Winning the Masters. It became my dream, and it became my reality. The Masters on CBS.
This is Capital One Tournament Central.
And we are getting closer to tip-off in Orlando for the second American semifinal between Houston and Wichita State. For the Cougars, Dalen Robinson Jr. saved his best for yesterday's quarterfinal win over UCF. The junior shot 7 of 9 from the field while pouring in a season-high 18 points. And for the Shockers, the team's second leading scorer, Shaq Morris, has scored at least 10 points in 8 straight games. The senior shooting just under 56% from the floor and 40% from beyond the arc. All right, let's hit the scoreboard one more time before tip-off. And we start in the America East Championship. First bid of the day, Seth, came down to the final shot.
As a wise man once said, this is March, Jarris Lyles, onions, retrievers, Sharpie.
All kinds of slogans going out. First time in a decade and second time ever, the retrievers fetch the nets.
And how about the North Carolina Central Eagles? That's a pilfer by Perkins. He had 9 assists and 13 points, 2 of them right there. And that was part of the Eagles getting to the dance for the second consecutive season.
Finished on a 13-3 run over top seed Hampton. In the first A-10 semifinal on CBS Sports Network, St. Joe's behind Shavar Newkirk took an 11-point lead, but he left with an ankle injury and back came the Rams.
And they sure did come back. There's a nice finish by Cyril Langevin. And then that's Jared Terrell knocking down that 3, and the Rams hold on. They'll play in the A-10 championship game tomorrow.
Other semifinal would be Davidson and St. Bonaventure, and we'll have that A-10 championship at 1 p.m. here on CBS. Now, the Ivy League semis. How about this? Right before the half for Harvard, Christian Juzang. Yeah, and he kept it going in the second half against Cornell Set.
Hey, man, that's called in the gym range. Juzang again. It was close for a while. Clark, did that count? He passed it and it went in. It counts, right?
Yes, it does.
All right, I'm just making sure. I'm a little suspect on the rules sometimes. Seth Towns again. And Harvard rolls. They're going to be dangerous if they get in that tournament.
You watched Michigan, Purdue. You know the answer to that question.
Of course.
All right, that is it for now here on Capital One Tournament Central. But you guys are actually bidding us farewell to go to Atlanta for the selection show tomorrow on TBS.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Something different. and should be exciting and a lot of fun. Obviously, we'll reveal the 68 and then where they're bracketed, and nothing quite like Selection Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day, especially for those bubble teams and looking for, we got a potential bid thief left in the Big Ten.
That's right.
So still a lot to be determined here between today, now and 6 o'clock.
That's right. A lot of moving parts.
And, of course, up next, it's Wichita State and Houston right here. Final thought here before tip-off and dismissal?
I like what I've seen from the Cougars' defense and Rob Gray. If they get those things going, they get a chance. But I'd like the Shockers to win the game.
I do like the Shockers to win the game. Not a great defensive team, good enough, very good offensive team. They will score more points than their opponent today.
All right, we have Wally Zerbiak and Danny Granger coming in for these guys. Up next, our second American semifinal, Houston and Wichita State, coming your way after this.
CBS Sports coverage of the American Athletic Conference Tournament is sponsored by Lowe's. Hurry in today for huge savings on all things spring. Buick, proud partner of the NCAA. And by Sonic. This is how you Sonic.